And we are live. Hello, everyone. I am the Atheist Ranger, and this is my August subscriber hangout. Fortunately, we don't have very many right now. We do have a newcomer. I think this is the first time he's been on my channel, at least. We have the Atheist Veteran.
Hello, I'm the Atheist Veteran, and I have been on one of your things a few months ago, but that was a while ago, and I didn't say much.
Alrighty. And this man has been on my channel many times before. Paul. How's it going, Paul?
All right,
Hi, Paul.
Oh, there we go.
A little pissed off at the moment, but that's nothing new.
Yeah, I'm pretty pissed off too. And just, damn. There's just so much crap to talk about.
I mean, what isn't there to be pissed off about? I mean, there's children, separated from their families.
Well, yeah, but it's also disrespect for veterans in some ways.
Oh, which disrespectful veterans?
Okay, I just unsubscribed to him. It was a guy, I won't remember his name for good reasons. But anyway, he went on about, the senator, McCain, is dying, and going into he's not really a war hero because this, that, the other. And I like how 50 years after the facts of what happened, that we can make these judgments on what people did or didn't do,
Yeah. I bet you I know who you're talking about. It's probably John Burke. That sack of shit is always...
No, not John Burke. It's, he's a lefty, whatever.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is, I know all this shit. There's no black and white on all these situations. There's that 50 shades of gray.
Yeah.
And which the eye cannot see 50 shades. But the whole thing is that we're judging something that people were told at the time when it first started out were lies about the war and stuff and how it was implemented and why it was done. You had the big back then scare of, they fall, then the next country will fall to communism. Blah, blah,
yeah.
Blah. And you didn't have this thing called the internet to check a lot of things out real easily, Yeah. It's all pretty much word of mouth, what you would hear, what you were told. You couldn't do other research so easily. And that's what pisses me off so much. People act like we've always had this.
Yeah, they don't take it. Oh, go ahead, sir.
Sorry, please. No, I was not commissioned.
My bad. yeah, you work for a living. I could
be commissioned as high as a captain, but that's another story.
Yeah.
So anyway, lost my train of thought. Go on.
Well, I mean, a lot of people forget the context of the situation, especially back when it comes to back then. He's like,
Well, this is the whole thing. There was a thing. Well, of course, not John. He became, was commissioned. In my case, I wasn't drafted yet, but I just got out of high school. I was 19. My birthday messed me up, but when I started school, so I was already a year behind there. So I was older when I got out. There was a thing, like I said, called the draft. And I enlisted into the Air Force because, and there's a good story behind this too. Add it. Oh, he's yawning.
No, I'm vaping.
I say to people, I went to the Air Force because I had no delusions of being able to dodge bullets.
Yeah. Makes sense.
But it ended up that
Makes
I went
sense.
over to Thailand, the little B-52s with bombs for the war. So I said that comment. Now it came back to me. I said that comment when this guy's thing, and I said, well, I guess I'm guilty too. I said yes, and I said, there's two letters for you. You can guess what it is. Fuck you,
So you're a vet. I was in the Army for about 10 years.
War was more than enough for me.
Yeah.
And,
it's all right. I only made it to E4 in 10 years, which is kind of pathetic, but whatever.
Now that is bad. We had one guy, Air Force was terrible for promotion. In just under 4, he made E5.
Oh, wow.
So just since I have 2 veterans in here, I know, again, me personally, I'm not the biggest John McCain fan, but what you guys thought of John McCain dying?
There's a lot of things about, okay, real quick, there's a lot of things about John I don't like. There's a lot of things he probably did. See, I don't research every fucking thing everybody fucking does. But yeah. The thing is, still, the man could have went home because his father was a high-ranking officer. Connections. He could, but he stayed with his men, and I have to give him a hell of a lot of credit for that and nothing else. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like you had a get out of jail free card. You're being tortured. You're not in a Hotel Hilton or whatever over there was not a thing to be at. Any of those camps.
Yeah.
Hey. He could have went home.
Could have, but he had to follow the code of conduct as well, and he did the right thing by that at least, and by what he believes was the right thing at that time. John McCain, to me, other than that, policy wise, I disagreed with a lot. I was in Iraq during the 2008 campaign. And all I could think about at the time is like, please don't let this guy have me stuck here for another God knows how long.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I really pisses me off how they took guys over and then they take them home and they put them back over, then they take them home and they wonder why they go bunkers.
Yeah.
There was a study done. I should probably look up and find out all the information on it. But in World War II, World War I, and those other wars, usually, after the war was done, let's say in Europe, you've seen it come to a conclusion. We won. It could have been anything else, but it came to a conclusion. Then you stay together as a group, so you got lots of BS going back and forth, talk, kind of like wearing things down. Then it took you a while to get back stateside. And even with that transition time and all that, you still have problems with a lot of guys.
Yeah.
In Vietnam, and I guess in these other ones today, you're there in the front line. Luckily, I never had to play with that silly game. But there you are in the front line. The next thing you know, you're home.
Yeah.
And people around you are clueless. Did you ever watch the Ken Burns thing on the Civil War?
No, I haven't watched Ken Burns.
Very good. If you ever get a chance, I highly recommend it. Whether he got a few things right or wrong, but the thing even in there, and I'm looking for that part, and if I have to, I'll have to record it. But he said there, you have guys come home again. And there's such a disconnect between them and the civilian population.
There really is.
Usually all you have to do is say, what happened? And listen. They're not looking for solutions. They just want an ear.
Hello, Patrick.
Just want to F an ear. I came back from overseas. Fortunately, like I said, I loaded B-52s. Never had to see that shit. And I was hyped. And then I came home. My mother had a welcome home party. Family, not strangers. Family.
Yep.
Not one person asked me what I did, and it wasn't like I had horrible war stories to tell.
Yeah,
a lot of anecdotal things of loading bombs and the crap and stuff we did, and nothing horrible. Not one person asked me anything about it. Oh, welcome back, and that's it. And I had all kinds of shit just to BS about. It would just be BS.
Yeah.
I can walk up to any GI anytime and I used to work at Publix down there in Florida. I'm in Denver now. And the guy's getting out of the car. I'm out there getting carts. And there he's getting his wheelchair out of the back. He's a young man in his mid-20s or so. And I walked over him. I said, the war? He said, yeah. And we started talking. Then I seen another guy who had one of these hats, And I go, oh, I got pictures. I got all kinds of slides I took of loading bombs. And I said, oh, I got some stuff. Oh, I don't want to talk about it. Well, okay. See, you walk away. But then I'm thinking, why are you wearing a fucking hat?
Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey, Pikachu. How's it going?
Pikachu.
That's my BS. Talk, whatever.
We were... Sorry, by the way, welcome, just real quick, welcome Pikachu the Atheist and my good friend Patrick Backer to the Hangout. We were just talking about John McCain.
Are you doxing me again? Fuck's sake.
Sorry.
I'm in Denver. Trump find me.
Sorry, Patrick.
There you went again. I'm the lobster. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we were just talking about John McCain's death.
Yeah, I was listening.
So
Yeah, I hear that there's a lot of there's some big news with the Democrats going on right now with that.
Huh? I'm a Democrat, so be careful.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I don't understand the most, and I find kind of hypocritical, is a lot of Democrats who didn't like John McCain are acting like they did. After his death, I mean, don't speak ill of the dead, and he was a war hero and stuff. But a lot of people didn't like John McCain.
Yes.
No.
But isn't that normal? Isn't that normal BS that people do? You walk into the funeral parlor, you like to stick a dagger in the guy's chest, even though he's dead. And he, oh, sorry, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's social life. And then we get out of there.
I mean, I'll give John McCain this. One of my favorite John McCain moments was when he fucking wiped the floor with Bill O'Reilly on the subject of torture.
Well, that wasn't really hard to do either, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sorry, but to me, he's right. I mean, I'm sorry, torture does not fucking work, okay? It just doesn't, okay? Because, in fact, John McCain even said it best. When you're getting tortured, you're going to tell your torturer whatever the fuck they want to hear to make them stop.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why it's not a reliable source.
Yeah, in fact, that's how we got involved in Iraq. We got misinformation from a tortured victim.
Yeah.
Well, that's a totally different story on how we ended up on Iraq.
Well, many variables went into us going into Iraq, but that's probably one of the top reasons, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, we were lied to. I mean,
yeah, well, Japan, the war of Japan, in a lot of ways was some our fault.
Yeah.
I think too with Iraq, there was a lot of people that wanted in the Republican Party that just wanted to go to war with Iraq ever since the first Gulf War with Iraq, and that's they wanted to do it because of oil. That's the only reason why they wanted to do it.
Here's the thing:
they didn't want to do it because of the terrorist attacks.
That's the real thing I have about the oil situation. You know what happens if we should get low on oil, which we are, but we should. You know what they do? They raise the price. So they raise the price because there's less of it to sell, so it becomes more valuable. You raise the price. And not only that, you don't have to produce as much, so that saves you more money too. So this bullshit about needing to get oil is bullshit, because they're going to make money no matter what.
Yeah,
whether it's oil or alternative energy, someone's going to make money.
Yeah, but the thing is, right now, they would still make money. They would still make effing money. They make more money on less product. And they would
look at this.
Less money on making that product because they're not making as much.
You look at this, see New Orleans, Houston, those are the areas that make the majority of the oil revenue for the entire country.
Yeah,
It doesn't come from Saudi Arabia. From this, it comes from the United States.
A lot of it now.
So it speaks to the prices on when we, when something happens over in another part of the globe, but it's really we're getting oil from here, not from there.
Yeah, well, when it first started up, when they had the embargo, and I just got out of service, and it went up like 35 to 70 cents a gallon. Like I said, there was less of it, but they were still making fucking money. That's what my point is. No, they're in a win-win situation. There's less of it, we'll charge you more. We're still going to make the same bottom line.
You know what the thing is? You know what the thing is with all businesses about this issue is that they do not want to pay out of their pockets for stuff like this. They want to take something, charges, either it's taxes or it's overhead or it's something like that, and then lob it onto the customers or lob it onto somebody else other than pay for it themselves.
Do yourself a favor sometime and look at the 1800s when you had the trains.
Oh, great, the Canadians here.
There goes the world.
Oh, shit. Now we got to stop using foul language.
No. Fuck no. You just have to say fuck, eh?
But go back to the 1800s when you had, the coal industry and the railroads and all that stuff. This is nothing new. Whoever's on the top does the same shit. I'm not justifying it. I'm not saying it's right. But don't be surprised. And don't think it's a new thing.
Oh, by the way, speaking of Saudis, did anyone hear about the strike in the strike in Yemen that I think hit a children's bus? Did anyone hear about it? And it was a U.S. bomb, by the way.
No, I don't watch every happy story for today.
That's pretty brutal.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think 20. I think like 12 children are dead because.
I thought it was 40.
I could be wrong.
Whatever the number is, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, one is too many. But
we do that over here indirectly.
Yeah.
With people, white males that can't themselves.
Yeah, we have white males going into schools and shooting children. So,
shooting at people at video game competitions.
Oh my God! Not even 20. No! Wait! Not even 24 hours, and I saw Fox News trying to play fucking video game for that bullshit.
I saw that too. It's like really people. Yeah,
that's been debunked like so many times.
Yep.
Again,
and I'm sorry, they were playing football game.
That's serious fucking business, man. People.
I was gonna say Americans are obsessed with football. Like, come on. You guys are worse than us with hockey.
Hey, it's Atlanta Falcons. It's Atlanta Falcons. That's the whole deal.
Look, I'm not a big sports person. I'm not a big sports person. I can enjoy a good game. I understand the concept. But don't say Americans in football. We're not down in South American stuff where they have to put a mulch and water around the damn playing field. So when the one loses, the whole world, you don't have to worry about getting killed by the.
Oh, that's in Ireland and England. I mean, the footballers fans out there, man, they take their shit serious.
Yeah, well, we call that
about American football and being crazy.
Well, no, I didn't mean it in that way. I just mean like you guys are obsessed with watching it. You're not gonna cause a riot necessarily when your team loses like they do over there.
Well, I seem to remember when Canadian football. Okay, you're a Canadian, eh? I remember years ago when the Canadian Football League decided to bring their sport south to America, right, to the United States, and the city of Baltimore had a football team called Stallions. The first year in the league, okay, they went to the Grey Cup, and they were playing in British Columbia, okay? The fans in British Columbia said that if the Stallions won the game, there would be a fucking riot. They had riot people in riot cops in British Columbia, and the fucking game was so shady on so many fucking levels. There was no way the Stallions were going to win. And the next year, when the Stallions did win, the Canadians got all in a huff and took their trophy and went back up north. You know, so they can get a bit, you know, and the city of Toronto has had a few scuffles. You know, with hockey. So you guys aren't fucking, you know, you guys.
I wouldn't know. I don't watch any sports, and neither does my husband. So we're a sports-free zone.
You know, I noticed something. Sorry about that. I noticed something several years back. I was channel some video about like top 10 biggest stadiums or some shit, and it was all stadiums that were not U.S. stadiums. Period.
Oh yeah, because they'd be soccer.
Would be in top 10 almost all.
They'd be soccer stadiums probably.
Yeah, but almost every U.S. stadium would be in the top 10 for even for soccer stadiums.
Okay, it's better. And you know,
what do you guys think about that issue with Philadelphia and the Catholic Church and all that?
I was just about to.
I've done 2 shows on that now.
Well, I've been reading articles where one bishop, I think it was, came out and said that secularism and birth control are to blame for the pedophile priests.
and definitely the gays. Don't forget the gays are to blame.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. If you can't blame the Jews, then you got to blame the gays.
Exactly.
So, of course.
No, but I mean,
I was asking that people should debunk that station that did the blaming the gays a little bit more, because not enough skeptics do it. You know, which is I think it's Eternal Word Television Network, which is the name of the station that does it.
I have fun with the Catholic Church on Facebook.
I
did it on Twitter too.
Real quick, see, I was born in Philly. Lived in the suburbs after about age 5, 6, but I was right there in Philadelphia. And this is one time you can go down in Philadelphia, and almost literally every house, not to get exaggerated, every 3rd or 4th block you had a Catholic church.
Yeah.
You know, they're almost all, you know, a good majority of them are closed now.
Good.
You know, a lot of, well, whatever, but a lot of, I mean, they've changed to other things, maybe other type of church or whatever the case is. But I mean, so the population of, you know, because you had a lot of people from, you know, came into Philadelphia were from Europe, you know, and those terrible people from Europe, those white people, and they came in and they were Italian, you know, and all that kind of stuff, German, Irish, whatever. And so you had a lot of Catholic churches, but now they don't have near the clout in Philadelphia they used to have.
Well, so that's definitely good.
They've been waning. It's only 5. I bet you most of the Catholics now are in third world countries.
Yeah, there's a Catholic church. Yeah, there's a Catholic church not that far from where I'm living at. But as much as I wasn't shocked by this, the reason I was pissed was because I was talking to this dude on Facebook, and I wish I had saved the thread. But I guess he got attitude with me because I was pretty much saying that, you know, if you are still supporting the Catholic Church, that you are part of the problem. And he had the nerve to say to me, he had the nerve to say to me that me saying that it would be like him saying that people who support the NFL support domestic violence. I'm like, first of all, shut up. It's not the same thing, because with the NFL, there's been a few bad apples that have beaten their girlfriends or beaten their wives. This shit with the Catholic Church has been going on since the 1940s.
It's been going on before that.
Try for
Look,
hundreds and hundreds of years.
So easy.
They
can have these
Dark Ages.
These priests can have these things called wives.
Yes.
Exactly. Thank you. Change that.
Well, that actually originally, up until I believe the 12th century, they were allowed to marry.
Well, the reason why.
Yeah, and well, because of inheritance, it was inheritance. Because clergy, if they had land, it would go to their progeny, and they didn't want that. They wanted as much land to go to the church as possible, because in those days, land was your money. Land was like having a pile of stocks in the market, right? That's where your investment would be was in land. So they didn't want anybody to be able to inherit church property. They wanted it all to go to them. And indeed, there is a Blackadder episode where Blackadder becomes the Archbishop of Canterbury. And there's historical accuracy in this, where it's a battle between the archbishop and the king to get nobles with no progeny to give their land to either the church or the crown. And so it had Blackadder fighting with his father, the king, to try and get land for the church or the crown, kind of thing. And that's what it was about, was getting land for the church. So they didn't want them to marry, so they couldn't have progeny. And look at for instance, Pope Alexander VI, who was better known as Rodrigo Borgia. He had 5 children that he acknowledged openly with 2 different official mistresses, and then he had hundreds of dalliances here and there. Who knows how many other illegitimate kids he had. But the point is that he acknowledged those children, but because they were, quote, bastards, he couldn't let them inherit anything. So he used nepotism. So he made his elder son became the leader of the Catholic Roman army, like the Roman army, because in those days they were still city-states. So his son became the leader of the army for Rome. His other son, he put on the path to be pope after him. So he made him a cardinal at like some ridiculous age of like 18 or something, which even in those days, everybody was like, a cardinal at fucking 18? Are you kidding me? And then his daughter, everybody's heard of Lucretia Borgia.
Mike is live, and there's like squelching or something going on.
Yeah, I don't know where that's coming from. But
wasn't Rodrigo Borgia one of the reasons? Wasn't Rodrigo Borgia one of the reasons why the Italian Renaissance and all that shit, all this stuff started happening?
Partly, he was in the late 1400s, early 1500s. So interestingly, where this kind of where it ties in, hopefully this isn't too boring for you guys, but I'm a history nerd. So if you're familiar with the English Reformation, where Henry VIII formed his own church so he could get laid. I don't know if you knew, but his first wife was actually married to his brother, Arthur Tudor, who was actually the Prince of Wales, who died within about 6 months of being married. He was supposed to be king, not Henry. And so after Henry's father, Henry VII, died, he ended up marrying his brother's widow. And then fast forward to when he wanted to break off and marry Anne Boleyn and get a divorce. That was his thing was, the Pope shouldn't have gave it, because they got a special dispensation from the Pope at the time, who was Rodrigo Borgia to marry his brother's widow, because they swore up and down, she swore up and down that they never had sex, that he died before they consummated the marriage, and she was still a virgin, and it was all good and legal.
Well, I think we're all virgins in this room right now. So.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
Yes.
oh, definitely.
Yeah. But that all that shit ties in together. And look at the thousands and thousands of people that died over the conflicts between Catholic and Protestant just in England.
Shit. Yeah.
Because Henry VIII wanted to get laid. And the thing is, Anne Boleyn put her foot down and said,
It's all about the pussy.
Yeah, it is. And she put her foot down and says, you're not getting any unless you put a ring on it. And he kind of went, oh, fuck, I'm already married. Now what the hell do I do? Yeah.
And you got to remember, you got to remember, too, the Pope supported Scotland and Ireland at that time, and they didn't support England. And both Scotland and Ireland wanted to overthrow England. And the England pieces off, I guess I should say.
Well, everybody wanted a piece of England. Like Spain wanted them so bad. That's Philip II of Spain. He's the guy that launched the Spanish Armada against Elizabeth I. And a lot of that was, see now, Catherine of Aragon, the wife that Henry got rid of, divorced, whatever, she was the Spanish princess, the daughter of Ferdinand and Isabella. She was big Spanish royalty and very, very, very Catholic. So the Spaniards hated England for ages after because they dissed their princess, you know.
Even up through World War I, look how much royalty was related. You had, the Russians were related to the French, they were related to the English, to the Spanish. They were all a giant family.
A lot of that had to do with Queen Victoria. Another interesting fact: Queen Victoria had an insatiable libido, but she was humping Albert every chance she got, which is why she had 9 children.
Who wouldn't, you know?
Which is funny, because if you ever find, like, she wrote little diaries and things. She hated children. She didn't want children, but it was the Victorian era. If you want nookie, you're gonna have kids if you're fertile. So she had 9 children and married off every single one of them into a royal house of Europe. So that's why, if you look at pictures of King George VI and the Tsar Nicholas II, they look like fucking twin brothers because they were first cousins.
Sorry about that. Yeah, well, the thing that I was going to get with Atheist Ranger was that I had stated on your video that the Catholic Church should have all of their property taken from them. Because of this issue, that they should have a federal investigation of this across all 50 states, and that, like I said, the property should be taken away. They should not be, when they come back, allowed to have property property that's on the grounds with schools. They should not have schools as a property. They should not have how should I say, hospitals as a property. They should not be allowed to have homeless shelters as a property, and they should be charged $3 billion in penal charges.
And more importantly, I think absolutely the Pope should definitely fucking resign or get fired.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they'll just have another Pope. I don't know. I mean, they got rid of Ratzenberger. But heretic,
yes.
I'd like... when I contacted you the other day and asked if I could come on to one of your hangouts, and you said, we've already talked about the Catholic Church. Part of what I wanted to talk about, like in this local face group, like I said, I live in Catholic Central. You know, New England is very, very fucking Catholic.
I agree.
And in a lot of Facebook groups I'm in, you had the people that were pissed. There's a lot of Catholics right now that are actually pissed off and trying to disassociate them with the Catholic Church, period, right? Whether they go to another church or give their money somewhere else. But I was in this thread, and I still have this thread. I was talking about, you know, they're hiding pedo priests, you know, they're you know, just the whole ramble. And this lady who was blocked literally half a wound socket off of her page. She's very Catholic. Her and this other guy and this guy, they were saying, well, it'd be, you know, if you blame the Catholic, that would be like saying, ooh.
Ranger, whatever you're scratching is killing our
scratching
ears.
Your balls, man.
Oh, sorry, no, that was my computer screen. Sorry.
Oh, but anyway, this lady gets on there and she says, "Oh, if you're gonna blame all the Catholics," she says, "for being complicit," she said that'd be like, say for instance, your wife came to my house and robbed us, right? She goes, that would be. She goes, then I could say that you're complicit in that too, even though you had nothing to do with it. And I'm like, no, that's got nothing to do with any fucking thing. I said, you know, the whole thing about the Catholic Church hiding pedophile priests isn't fucking new, right? You know, on the TV out here, they got Bishop Tobin or whatever. I hate that fucker, but they're talking about how you know they're all praying for Catholics, you know, and everything. And it's like, oh, let's all pray for forgiveness and shit. Well, what about these kids that had fingers stuck up their ass, you know, or a little kid that was made to stand naked like he was Jesus on the cross,
fucking,
you know?
Yeah.
And they had another one where they had little special fucking crosses that they would give altar boys, right? The ones that were grooms, so the other priests would know which boys they could fuck with, right?
Yep.
And when you try to point this out to them, and even in the Rhode Island Archdiocese, the Boston Archdiocese, you know, all that, you know, there's hundreds of unsettled fucking cases of priests, you know, fucking little kids, you know?
Yep.
And they go, well, you can't blame all the Catholics. I'm like, if you didn't think it was a thing, then you're either stupid or you're deaf or you really don't give a shit. And they go, well, what about teachers? I said, in any other profession, if a teacher gets caught fucking a little kid, they go to fucking jail, right? In any other profession, in any other form of anything, you get caught fucking little kids or diddling little kids or something, you go to fucking jail, right? In the Catholic Church, they just move you around and then they pray for you, right?
Oh yeah, and if you're really, really heinous, they'll just, you know, retire you to some old priest home.
Yeah, they'll defrock you or excommunicate you or something.
They'll forbid you from giving communion again. Like that fucking matters.
There's something that's not known here. The United States has a lot more power than you think on this issue. If they would just, you know, forget about this religious freedom bullshit that they know they're going to spread. But the reason why I state that is because they have an extradition treaty with Italy, and in order to send priests to the Vatican or, you know, cardinals to the Vatican from the United States, they have to go through Italy to speak. So when they go to Italy, Italy can just say, no. We're arresting you and we're sending you back to the United States.
But the Vatican is its own sovereign state, so it would be a matter of getting it's a matter of getting through Italian airspace, but I imagine it could be done.
Yeah,
it would depend on what kind of treaty Italy has with the Vatican, I think.
Yeah.
Because if they've got some special deal going on with them, which I would be highly surprised if they didn't, that they could have free travel into the Vatican, then you'd be fucked. If they don't, then you might be able to grab them in transit. But I have a feeling that there's some kind of special deal that allows them to bring these fuckers through. Because otherwise, I mean, that's where Ratzinger is, and I am quite positive. Yeah. I mean, well, that's where Cardinal Pell was. And it was only he's the Australian I think arch cardinal. Yeah. Yep. And it's just sorry.
Just
He's
going.
wanted in how many countries?
There's another problem in the background of all this, is that you have the other churches and stuff, and there's shit going on there too. And these people don't want to go after the Catholics too much because the finger's going to come back at them.
Well, no, I mean that's what I was just about to say. It's like for me, it's not just the Catholics doing this. We hear about either some denomination of Christian preacher, Christian pastor fucking a kid. We hear this about the shit every single.
Do you know the story that came out like last week that Mormon Church doesn't want people to call them Mormons anymore?
Yeah.
You know why that is? We just did our show Monday night on that.
Oh, polygamy thing?
No, because they've got a child fucking problem too.
Oh, yeah.
And they want to disassociate from the name Mormon because that's where a lot of the complaints are coming out about the quote Mormon church.
Well, when you talk about like different religions or different cults, whatever, with the problem with kids, my big thing for years has been this whole idea of these youth pastors.
Yes.
You get some 20-some-year-old guy, right, and his young wife or something, and they get to like teach young kids, right, and take them camping, and how many times do you hear about a youth pastor? I mean, the guy that organized the world's largest Christian rock concert or whatever like that, he's just been sentenced to prison for 19 fucking years for years of fucking kids. It's a racket. And not to say that every youth pastor, or just like to say that every Catholic priest doesn't fuck kids, but it's an easy fucking way to groom.
Oh, totally.
And manipulate vulnerable young kids who are learning how to be, because these are people you're supposed to trust. It's like when the Scouts had that big fucking thing going on. You're supposed to trust your Scout leader.
It's even sometimes more sinister than that. I don't know if any of you guys have seen the Netflix miniseries called The Keepers. It deals with a girls' Catholic school in the Baltimore area. And those fuckers, there was one priest that was kind of the ringleader and another one that was kind of like his second banana. And what they would do is they would get a girl who's confessed to something in confession. Right. So one girl in particular that she's prominently featured in the series, she confessed that her uncle had been molesting her. So the priest kind of goes, oh, this one's already, ready to go. So they guilt the fuck out of her, call her a slut and a whore, and tell her that if she doesn't, take their quote counseling, which was getting raped every 2 or 3 times a week, then she was going to burn in hell because she was already a slut for letting it happen to her the first time. And that's what they would do. One girl, because it was the 60s, she got busted for having weed, and her parents sent her for, quote, counseling with the priest. And the priest basically said, I'm going to tell your family that you need to be put in an institution unless you let me do this. And then they would bring their friends in. Several of the girls said, oh yeah, the one time I got called to Father so-and-so's office, and there was a police officer there, and I had to let him rape me. And they were doing this to all these girls in the school, but they would find out from confession something that they could hold over them, and then that's how they would get them to do what they wanted for years.
I had a question. Because that these Catholic, Christian groups are going around, Catholics, whatever, they are doing, was it gay conversion therapy? And you're also wondering if they're also doing this shit under the back, you know, fucking men when, you know, they, you know, say that they shouldn't be, you know, at the same time, and then doing the same bullshit. It should be illegal across all 50
how many
states
times
and
do
ways.
anti-gay fucking evangelicals have to be caught with a dick in their mouth, right?
It's the
know what I mean?
They call it the Ted Haggard syndrome.
Yeah, he's totally not a homosexual either.
Oh no! But
or snorting coke off of a gay hooker's ass.
You know, I have snorted coke off of a hooker's ass before, but yeah, it was a bucket list thing when I was younger. That we were really fucked up.
They have studies that show the more homophobic someone is, the more likely they are to be a self-hating gay.
Yeah.
That's just seems to be the way it is, and
that goes with everything. The person who complains about anything, whatever it is, the most. You know, as you know, he's pointing that finger. You know, the old three back at you.
Yeah. Okay, but I am definitely not religious. Okay.
No, you worship Satan, and you know it. It's that red hair and the black background. God, we're all worshiping Satan right now. See, and that's another thing. When they throw fucking Satan into it, and demons and stuff like that, they still make it sound like that somehow. It's like when all this shit happens, they go, "Well, now let's pray for him." Okay, well, what the fuck? It's already fucking happened. What the fuck are you gonna pray about now? You know?
Oh, did you? I don't know if anybody saw, but I'm a fan of the Scathing Atheist podcast, and they just recently posted a tweet that old Frankie put out at some point this week, and it says, I ask our Blessed Mother to intercede for the healing of the survivors of abuse and to confirm every member of our Christian family in the resolve never again to permit these situations to occur. And a friend of mine replied to it and said, flash forward to January 2477, Pope Pius Peter the 30th. We really, really mean it this time.
Oh yeah.
Oh, but just real quick, I wanted to screen share something. I shared this on Facebook, and I think a Heretic Woman, and in fact, I think Lobster Boy here definitely shared it.
Oh, now you're
Irish politician one.
Oh yes.
Eyes on you.
Yeah.
Yes, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just real quick. I'm sharing for the audience now.
Yeah.
Back then, you didn't. Back then, they would say, you know, if you're in trouble, you know, go talk to your priest. You know, it'd be like, you know, talk to somebody who you know, like a police officer, your parents, or the priest. And if you talk to your parents, they're not going to believe you because, well, he's a man of God. You know, there must be something wrong with you, right? I've known people that were fucked with. Not necessarily even by the church. You know, they tried to report it back in the 60s and 70s. And parents or people that they should have reported it, didn't believe them because the people that were doing it were, you know, good, upstanding citizens, and they're married too, you know, and people like that just don't do that. And a priest would never touch a fucking child. So go talk to the priest about it, you know.
So it has nothing to do with this bullshit per se, but my mother, you know, she was a born again, and that's how she was, you know. Whatever that guy up in the pulpit says is true.
Yeah.
You know, no questions asked, you know. That's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to play this for the audience.
Okay. I'll mute it.
You don't know what I feel inside me. You don't know the heart I had. I got raped of a Saturday, got a merciful beating after it. And then stopped. He came along the following morning and put Holy Communion in my mouth. can't tell you how many times I jump out of the bed at night with the sweat pumping out of me because I see these fellas at the end of the bed with their fingers doing that to me and pulling me into the room to rape me, to bugger me, and beat the shite out of me. That's the way it is. I attempted to commit suicide. There's the woman who saved me from committing suicide on my way down from Dublin.
It's easier. We want attention. I'd say I'm one of the oldest survivors then. I'm basically I want peace and I want closure before I die.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when you're religious or spiritual or something like that, you can always put it off on something else, you know, and then pray that it never happens again, because we all know that prayer works, you know.
Well, and these fuckers would go, I mean, even cardinal, even the Pope has a quote confessor. So these fuckers would do their thing and then go to their other priest, confess, which the confessor was legally or was not permitted to disclose, and then go on their merry way because they'd been forgiven.
Yeah.
I saw a bumper sticker not too long ago that said, "Christians, we're not perfect. We're just forgiven."
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that loophole.
As far as the Pope asking for us to forgive the priest, fuck no. And by the way, welcome on Dance.
Oh my God, another celebrity.
Hello, Kate. If she's there.
Well, she's been having problems with her internet, so.
I've said that it's more or less the Catholic Church's problem as well about how they deal with people who perform sexuality, who perform sex. And it's the fact that they repress people from, you know, sexual things as well as, you know, the issue with the pedophile sort of stuff. Because if you look at the case, if you look at like, it was at prisons and stuff like that, you know, rape is very, very high in prisons because of sexual repression.
No.
And you think about this. We think it's because of sexual repression. And the thing is, if that is the case, that, you know, rape is high because of sexual repression, it could possibly be that the Catholic Church rape is high with the Catholic Church.
Oh, it totally is. It totally is. Well. Because the thing is, there's two types of child molesters. There are the full-on pedophiles that are only attracted to children. And those guys, they're going to fuck kids no matter what, because that's just how they are. But then there are people who are attracted to adults, but for whatever reason, take advantage of children because that's the situation that they're in and that's what who they can take advantage of. And that's where most of these priests would come into. I'm quite sure that there are full-on pedophiles in the priesthood for sure. But most of them are going to be, like, if those men had been allowed to live normal lives, I doubt very much many of them would have molested anybody. But they're in this they're trying to do something that's, you know, not healthy. And it's fucking them up to the point that they don't care who they hurt, or they don't understand for some reason that it hurts people, or they're so driven that they don't care.
Well, when it comes to the Catholic Church in Pennsylvania, I think a lot of them were just straight up pedophiles because they had a porn ring going.
Yeah, that bunch does definitely sound like they were full on pedophiles.
Yeah, by the way,
it's a whole gambit.
I was hoping that Kate would have stayed in the room because I wanted to ask her. I don't know if anybody's covered it. I'm sure somebody has, but the non-offending pedophiles wanting to be included in the LGBT
I've heard about this, and I'm sorry, no.
Yeah.
Fuck
No,
no.
no. Fuck
It's like,
no.
oh, I've just never acted on it. You know, it's like,
Yeah. Well, I had one on my Facebook. This guy, I'm not going to say who he is because I don't want to give him any screen time, but he has a YouTube channel as an atheist and was recommended to me to watch as an atheist YouTuber. And he had some decent content and whatnot. And I was actually talking to him about having him on the show. And at one point, a year or so ago, like we'd been Facebook friends for 6 or 8 months or something like that. I created a meme and it had a picture of a collection plate and I titled it Pedophile Defense Fund. And he got all pissy about it because I labeled it pedophile and not child molester. And I'm like, okay.
What's the difference?
Splitting hairs. And he's like, well, pedophiles, you know, most of them don't do anything and they can't help it. And we should feel sorry for them, blah, 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 blah. And I was arguing with him. And then come to find out, he eventually, you know, blurts out, well, I'm a pedophile. And I'm like, pardon? And he's like, oh, well, I'm you know, he says, I'm attracted to children. That's how I'm wired. That's my orientation. And it's not my fault. And I recognize that it's harmful and I would never do anything and blah, blah, blah. And my thing is, even if I honestly thought, because I didn't know him that well, I don't know if you really mean it or what, but let's say I believe the guy that he understands that it's harmful and that he does anything he possibly can to avoid being in that situation, that he never wants to hurt a child. And he's like, I would never even attempt to have a girlfriend because I know that I you know, children might end up being involved, blah, blah, blah. You can't control that indefinitely. You just can't. What if you're in a car accident and you get a head injury? What if you get dementia or Alzheimer's or a brain tumor or anything that could fundamentally alter your ability to control yourself? You can't dictate that. You can't predict that. In fact, there's a number of pedophiles that resist offending until much later in life. They still fucking do it. And they're still, the average pedophile by the time they're caught has molested between 30 and 40 children. That's the known average.
A lot of them that quote unquote aren't offenders, you know, have been popped for child porn.
Yep.
Right. Because they think, well, at least I'm not touching the child.
Well, somebody had to touch him for the picture, dumb shit.
Right. But they didn't do it, so they can distance themselves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. Totally. And like I told the guy, I said, you know what? I don't really care if you don't think you'll ever do it, because what you are attracted to is inherently dangerous, period. You cannot compare that to being homosexual or bisexual or pansexual or whatever, because those people are all attracted to adults.
Thank you.
And
adults being the key word, you know what I mean?
Yes. You cannot ever, if you're a pedophile, be attracted to anyone that you wouldn't hurt via that attraction.
Well, you know, one of the red flags that I've always found was when somebody goes, well, she was 18. You know, I waited till she was 18. You know, or I waited, or whatever the legal age is in that state.
But you spent how many years?
By the law, you know. Sure, I've been fapping to her since she was 6, but you know, I waited till
and conditioning her for that until it was legal. Yeah.
And what's funny, what's the thing that's sad is that Christianity is not the only one. Just look at fucking Saudi Arabia and the rest of them, where they've been talking about Muhammad fucking a 9-year-old.
Well, you guys, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but there actually is a verse in the Quran that codifies sex with child brides. It literally, so they have divorce is okay in Islam, and there's several verses that cover divorce. And one of the things that is discussed is how soon after divorce does a woman have to wait before she remarries? Because 1400 years ago, they were worried about if there's a kid, who does it belong to, right? So if the marriage was never consummated, the woman doesn't have to wait. She could remarry immediately. If the marriage was consummated, she has to wait 3 menstrual periods to make sure she's not pregnant. Because if she is pregnant by the first husband, they're going to want her to stay because they're...
And let's hope she doesn't have one of those long periods that just goes on forever.
Well, now, though, there's another verse that addresses, well, what if a woman isn't having a period? And it actually says, if the woman is you think she might be too old, she's already pregnant, or has not menstruated, she has to wait 3 months to remarry. So think about that. If this girl has not menstruated, and there are 5 different scholarly commentaries that say, no, this doesn't mean anything else other than too young. So we're not talking about a late bloomer here. We are talking about children, that it specifically says in the commentaries. And so if she was married, as like they say, Aisha was married at 6, right? So if she was married at 6 and nobody touched her, then she wouldn't have to wait. There would be no waiting period. So this means that she's already had sex with her first husband and still has not had a period, and is now being married off to someone else and has to wait 3 months in between just to make sure she's not pregnant.
With religion, it's always about sex. Something that everything is dirty. Everything is dirty. Going back to the Catholic Church, there was an article. One of these bishops was defending it. He said that I guess in the Catholic Church, when a child reaches the age of 7, it's the age of reason. Age of reason. Is that what they call it? Yeah. So these boys were actually asking for it.
Yes, I saw that.
And I'm like, the kid's 7 fucking years old, right? He's 9 years old.
I don't think I've ever wanted to shove an incense censer up someone's ass so much in my life. On burning incense, mind you. That's one of those things. That's one of those things the priest swings around while he's yeah.
I don't think it's that kind of incense, though. I think it's a different type of incense that the Catholic Church pretty much makes. It's not like the incense sticks that you buy.
No,
whatever.
That's okay. I don't care what it is as long as it's on fire.
Kids stick burning coals up their ass.
Flaming bag of dog shit.
There we go. Well, what did I say on the other show I do on Sunday morning? I said, was it go fuck yourself with your pointy hat, Frankie?
Yeah. But yeah,
go ahead.
They always have well, that's not what I believe, and I don't know, the whole God will forgive you thing, and let's pray about it, and let's all ask for forgiveness. It's like that old Irish guy,
Yeah.
Who was thinking about him, I mean, a lot of these priests, the only reason they're sorry, or the only reason they're, asking for repentant is because they got
caught. Yep. They would still be fucking little kids if they thought they could get away with it.
And they go, well, we're all sinners. Okay.
No, the fuck we aren't.
Yeah. Well, First of all, I don't believe in the whole sin thing. There's good and there's evil, or the good and there's bad. But even if, let's say, for instance, the word sin, okay, we're all sinners, yeah, but I don't fuck little kids.
Yep.
Some say no. In fact, most Christians will even agree that some sins are worse than others.
I don't. There's no such thing as sin, but.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying from their perspective. Even
I
I've talked to even say that some sins are worse or better than others.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's all Eve's fault. Because if she wouldn't have eaten that apple, man, then there wouldn't be the curse of childbirth.
Yeah.
Painful childbirth and menstruation.
Blame it on the chicks. I know.
Well, that's what it is. It's right in the Bible, you know. It's going to cause painful childbirth and for you to bleed.
Did you know? But think about this. Eve was the first skeptic because she didn't take God at his word. She had to test the theory.
Well, then
look at this. Look at my MacBook. Look at the house that you're in. You know, if the Bible is correct that Eve did that, then your house, you wouldn't be living in a house. You wouldn't be having a computer. You wouldn't be having all this sort of stuff. Whatever.
Paul, you wanted to say something?
No, just real quick, because on my Facebook page, I have a mix of everything. You know, I don't go into politics because I have other ones to do that on. But one of my friends, she's... her husband, he used to have before he had a stroke, and even after his stroke, he was after, what's her name? Oh, God, I can't think of her. She just died not long ago. Anyway, she was a psychic guy, you know. Anyway, but she said something about somebody doing something. Well, we're all, you know, born with sin. And I hardly ever say anything, but I finally went on to her things. First of all, I don't believe in sin, you know, and bad is bad. Period. You know, they're trying to pass it off. Well, we're all sinful, and I was so close to going. And if you ever had a child, and I know she never had a child, you could look at your child and say it's sinful.
Yeah.
A lot of them do. A lot of them do.
Some of them are saying, you know, well, I guess you guys live in glass houses then. But no, I don't live in glass houses. But I don't fuck little kids either. You know.
Nope. And I don't tell people that they're flawed from birth because they're sinful nature. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, I mean, that just irritates me, you know, to look at a child, well, it's sinful.
Yeah, like you're born in sin, so what the fuck did a 1 hour old baby do to sin? What, it wanted to get its...
Wasn't that the Jesus thing? He took
sins of the father, sins of the father.
It's like, it was too impatient to get fed the first time, so it's sinning.
Babies are selfish.
Yep.
That's what.
As if they have a concept of it.
Yeah.
I know. Ridiculous.
Basically, the Bible is the North Korea 3-generation rule, like on steroids.
Oh yeah, I know one time at one of our atheist meetings in Florida, we had a rabbi come in. He was pretty progressive, and he says, you know, these people don't check the Bible very well. You know, sins only go on for 3 to 6 generations. They don't go on and on and on and on and on. And that's how they make it out. You know, what Eve did is at least 2 or 3 generations beyond 6, I think, by now.
Probably, at least 10 generations.
Yeah, at least 10 generations.
Yeah, it's not that long ago, though. You know, if you believe in, 6,000-year Earth.
Yeah.
I think it's just sad that, I mean, organizations like the Catholic Church, they'll sit back and they'll say that this is a one-time event thing instead of acknowledge the fact that it's been happening for decades, over and over and over and over and over and over again, and it's not just one event.
Well, I remember when they would say, who are you going to believe, a little kid or a man of God? Look, because kids lie. Well, one
of them in the Keepers told that to one of the girls that they were raping is like, well, you're a little whore. Who's gonna believe a little whore like you over me? I'm a priest.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And fact of the matter is, most people would believe that priest over that little whore.
Well, their whole system of full. If they believed the kids, forget their whole system of religion would fall apart.
And look at the Irish fella there. He said after he got raped, he got beaten.
I'm going to interject real quick, and that's why you have such fun with people with Trump, because they put up this freaking God that's all loving but has a hell, so you have to keep that in your mind as being equal, both correct. So no matter what that guy does, they're used to that. That's their standard.
Yeah.
That's their effing standard. They've been brought up with that kind of concept,
Absolutely. The priest could do no wrong. So if you were feeling bad about something the priest did, that was your fault somehow.
Oh, you must have asked for it.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know of a kid alive who ever went to fucking confessional or confession. I mean, I used to know kids when I was a kid. Every Wednesday was confession. Half the kids in our neighborhood were gone for a couple of hours.
Oh, jeez. Right?
And they'd come back, and all of them go, I just told him some shit. I didn't know what to fucking say. He says, because all we did was play in the neighborhood,
Yeah.
And but what I don't understand, what boggles me the most is when you try to explain this shit to somebody who's religious and believes that God's going to forgive them, and you talk about how heinous this shit is, right? The first thing they do is bring up a Bible verse.
Yeah.
And then when you say, well, that's all bullshit, right? They go, oh, how do you know? I'm like, these are people that wrote the Bible didn't know where the sun went at night,
Yeah.
They thought rain was something from the gods. They thought volcanoes or bad crops was a sign that the gods were angry instead of,
They thought that
the earth was flat. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Some of them
they
still
thought the earth
do.
was flat.
There's a growing fucking part of the Christian community that believes that the earth is flat again.
I know.
Sorry about that,
it's
Atheist.
scary.
Oh yeah, I forgot about flat earthers. I thought they were dead.
Oh, I mean, fuck no.
Not physically, just metaphorically.
I was in an airplane and I drive across the country, and you know what? I've never seen one of those.
Anybody remember the show Dinosaurs?
Yep.
The Muppet stuff.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
they had a great show on about flat Earth, because that's what we do, a flat Earth.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah. So the girl, she said, no, it's a ball. Blah, blah. No. So they said, okay. Your punishment is, you have to die, but you can choose your method. Right away, you know what she's going to do. Her method's going to be, I'm going to walk off the edge of the earth. So they show her going out the back door or whatever, the side door of the place with the officer to follow her. And about 2 months later, here they come in the other side. And he's going, well, the earth is round.
Awesome.
That was all.
That's what I liked about this show. They went after things.
That was the Illuminati and the devil making those shows.
Yeah, they were showing the truth about things. Yeah, oh God, I got on a real quick chat and I left him real quick. I have one of these things that was having the chat come up, so this guy comes on and we start BSing, and he says, oh, I'm writing a book. I said, oh, really? What's the subject? He says, oh, the Illuminati. He got into the whole thing, and he said, the England has an island where they got more, jewels and stuff and blah, 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 blah. And all kinds of stuff was coming out. And I said, you're full of bullshit. Oh, no. He started talking over me and click.
I saw it on YouTube, man.
No, he was writing a whole book on the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Everything,
That's what-
the conspiracies and stuff that just unbelievable.
Yeah, and if you see that, and that's another thing, you know, if somebody goes, well, I read this book about UFOs, or I read this book about conspiracies, or I read this book about flat Earth, proving flat Earth. It's like, no, you read a book about some dickhead that thinks the Earth is flat, you know, who doesn't understand that it's not.
I remember when I was in Thailand. I was having problems to get home on my wedding on time. That's a whole other story. But anyway, my uncle calls me.
I bet it is.
My uncle calls me up from the Philadelphia area, and it's 12 o'clock noon there, and it's 12 o'clock at midnight where I was. He's looking at the sun. I'm looking at the moon out there, nice and big and bright. Oh, flat Earth. That's right. Forget it.
Well, you know, there is that group now, that guy, I forgot his name, he's claiming that Australia isn't real, and everybody that claims they live in Australia is just paid actors.
That's the whole
heard
thing.
that too.
That's the whole thing. They have all these layers that they have to denounce. All these layers of natural things people are doing. They have to, everybody's in on this conspiracy. And what do they have for their conspiracy? A book.
Or a YouTube video.
Yeah, but I'm saying they have the Bible. They have the Bible. And everybody's putting out all this expense to fool them and fool everybody. The Earth is a sphere. Why would they have to do that? All they have to do is come out with a book.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to... Go ahead.
Sorry, but do these flat earthers realize how much money would have to go into trying to put up these conspiracy theories?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the 9/11 stuff. I mean, it was Miles Powers. Yeah, Miles Powers got up there and said that, the government couldn't hide a fucking cum stain on some, woman, and then, they're talking about, the government's covering up all this, and the third, about 9/11, and then saying, like, how the fuck can they keep all this fucking shit hidden, when they have to go through 50 billion people to get through it?
Well, look at how many people in the airline industry would have to be in on it.
All they would have to do is write the church, have a book, and say, this book is right, instead of going through all this bullshit of, I went out to California and I drove up 70, which goes across the mid-part of Colorado to go out west. And there's a sign that's there that says, for the next 100 miles, there's nothing but road.
Except by turning Nebraska, I think.
Hey, guys.
Forget your effing phone. Forget everything. No gas stations for the next 100 miles. You're fucked if you get stuck.
Yeah.
Okay? And guess what kept working? My GPS and my satellite radio. Isn't that strange? They go out of their way to do this.
Well, Paul, all that does is prove that you're part of the Illuminati.
Yeah, hey guys, just real quick. In the chat, WildHut66 said that he said that would explain the lack of koalas and kangaroos on Noah's Ark.
Absolutely.
Oh shit. Yeah, you were talking about.
Well, to get into that, I always like it when creationists, they talk about and they go, a kind. Show me a kind that has changed. Like, what the fuck are you talking? A kind. They go like a dog.
That.
Yeah.
And whoever in science talks about it happening in one generation.
Well, I do have a picture. I do have a picture of a duck and a duck banana. So that kind of.
Wait, there is a picture of a duck with a crocodile head that, of course, Kirk Cameron tried to show.
King Crocoduck uses that.
Where in science has anybody ever said that is how it happens? Where?
Well, no.
Well, it's like
if they couldn't lie, they would have nothing to say.
Well, it's like Neil deGrasse Tyson said: "Science doesn't care if you believe it or not."
Yep.
No, I think it. But by the way, that's what I think irritated me about, and I'm just going to say his name, about G-Man is that he kept saying that the exact words he would use, and I'm quoting him, and I quote, show me the transitional fossil that I'm related to a horse. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Who said you're related to a horse?
G-Man, who else?
Well, yeah, but
I'm saying, but
you are.
when he said, yeah, I understand that.
But you've got to go back about
a few million
years or so.
Yeah. Like, this is the thing.
I mean, they have where cats and dogs, they have the common ancestor for the two offshoots for, you know, the canine and the cats.
A lot of these creationists have the ability to understand or fathom the concept of millions of years, because they always seem to want to see something that's going to transition in one generation, which just does not happen. That's not how it works, people.
And it's called speciation. It's never said like that in evolution. Yeah. Evolution is never said in one generation. Then they'll go back to the Cambrian period and say, "Oh, they had the damn when they had that." But
that's not evolution by natural selection. That's evolution by speciation, which is a totally different thing than natural selection. Yeah. But they think that speciation and natural selection is the same thing.
They like they bring back the Cambrian period, you know, when they had, what was it called? When 25, 30 million years, we had a big diversity of species, which happened to correspond with the thing called oxygen being now prevalent. It only took like 3 billion years for these, you know, algae and stuff to finally put enough oxygen out to get rid of the iron in the oceans. There was a lot of dissolved iron in the oceans. And if you look at it, you look, I can go here and point to rocks and stuff in Colorado that have to do with that. When the oxygenization, you know, you get rust, and it's like called orange. And it took, you know, like 3 billion years roughly or more to finally get it so the oxygen levels finally started to climb high enough that you could have organisms being much more complex. Because you get to the cells inside, you know, before they start developing, you know, heart systems and shit like that. And
there was something
an explosion. That's what I'm looking for. And
there was something
explosion that was made by I forget his name. He was into evolution and all that stuff, but it was just a phrase he was using. It wasn't meant to be like, poof, there they were. It took 25, 30 or more million years for the diversity to really get in there. Yes.
Yeah. There was something, sorry if I interrupted. There was a video I had seen. It was about a year old, but I seen it from Aaron Ra, where it talks about the tree rings and the different, how they said over like several thousand years, over the different strata, they had forests at different levels of strata. And then there would be at one time where, of course, he was talking about I think the flood or something like that. And there would be a point where there would be an ancient forest, and it would just get engulfed by, you know, the dirt or by whatever, and then the trees would die, and then more trees would grow on top of that, and new forests would grow, and then that would die off, and then later it would just keep accumulating over time to where it got to where it is today. And you're talking maybe millions of years. I can't remember exactly, but it was a long time. And it was just over. It was just the fact that I think it was over his video with you know, tree rings, tree stuff, debunking Noah's flood or something like that. And it was just that ancient forest. We you know, we have evidence where things would go in and dirt would go in and just basically cover forest. Then new forest would grow on top of that, you know, a few thousand years later, and then that forest died because of the same issue. It would just keep repeating itself process over. It would keep repeating the process over and over and over again. And we have areas where you can look, where they've dug it up, and you can see dead trees from thousands and thousands of years ago.
Yeah, and then it's funny that we were talking about Kirk Cameron and the whole crocodile thing. I remember, I think it was in 2007, Kirk Cameron and Ray Comfort had this like big debate on ABC, and the people they were debating, I don't remember the names, but one of the good points they brought up was that when it came to the whole crocodile thing, the reason that point was ridiculous was because, and this is the point that their opponents brought up, what on earth would that mate with? Like that's why that concept is ridiculous, because what on earth would that thing mate with?
Oh yeah. Well, you had the male dog go around for millions of years looking for a female dog to evolve.
Yeah.
No, but back to the forest thing. I was going to get in on that. What happened in that time period where we had a lot of forestation and stuff going on? There was no termites yet. And also, there was no funguses yet that would break down wood like they have today. So that's why that stuff accumulated, because there's nothing really to break it down. Swamps will get thicker and thicker, and finally you have compression. You have things today, or bogs and stuff like that. You can go in there and you can cut up sections of it and dry it out. And it's, I forget what the hell is that called before it becomes coal. Somebody might know the name, but you can repeat.
I think that's when
not touched, that would become future coal.
I think what Aaron Ra was trying to talk about was that if there was a flood 5,000 years ago, you would have seen the ancient forest just be dead, and then no forest exist after that in any level of strata.
It's not only that. Within how many centuries? In a couple centuries, you have enough people after the flood to build the pyramids, go all the way to Asia and make that.
You mean those grain silos?
There was a lot of fucking going on, man.
What else did they have to do back then?
The tribbles in Star Trek, they were already pregnant before they were born.
There was something even elsewhere that I didn't even talk about with Noah's flood, was that the flood, if the whole earth was covered in water, the problem is the earth would not be able to retain some of that water. And
Come on,
that
water would start to be serious here, and you're
I'm sorry,
around.
Terry's mouthy. Terry's a mouthy tribble.
The water would basically be escaping the earth because it's over a certain parameter on the earth's whatever. So there would not be. It just would not be able to hold it within. And
I don't know about that part, but I think you're misunderstanding there. But where's it going to go? It's the big thing.
Yeah,
it disappears.
It's not going to go anywhere. I mean, it may. I mean, evaporation may happen in the space, but not very much.
But the thing is, to bring down that kind of water, say from, let's say, asteroids or whatever, you know how hot the Earth would become from all those impacts? All that water coming down? It'd be, unbelievable. They don't understand, because they rely on people to understand the concept of, all that energy, of all that rain falling, to be that deep, it'd be boiling from the heat.
Well, it's like when you get a lot of the religious people or the conspiracy.
Real quick, in that little tiny hole where they shove all the shit out.
It's like, science can't explain, I don't know, and then enter some stupid fucking theory,
Yeah, well, science has been around for billions of years. Yeah, we don't have everything learned yet.
Well, yeah, but they'll say something like, and then enter something really stupid, it's like, the fuck do they want you? No, they've got better things to do.
You don't understand the power of that three-letter word, God. Everything. It's unbelievable. It's explanatory power.
Yeah.
Well, the three-letter word is just used to stop critical thinking. Period. That's pretty much it.
Well, I had somebody try to explain to me the other day that that the Bible that they believe in evolution, right? But science and evolution basically explains creation and how God did it.
Okay.
You know, it's like, damn.
It's funny. I don't have to dance around and make it work. Like,
yeah, that's why I'll just say, you know, it's all bullshit. Don't you? You do understand that, right? And they go, oh, now you're being hateful. You know,
No.
What do you believe in? I'm like, I don't know. I believe in rocks, just like Paul said. They have rocks in fucking Colorado that I can look at. You know.
Oh, yeah, not far from here. I can go. It's not too far from the Red Rocks amphitheater. You know, the theater.
Yeah.
And that strata goes right through the set. But anyway, you can go there, and on this side of here, it's 150 million years ago, and there's a few dinosaur stuff. I got some footprints, you know, and you can see the strata that's been pushed up over the years. And then you go to the other side, and there's a whole different strata going on there. And now we're out of the age of dinosaurs, or getting near the end. It's 110 million years ago, and blah blah blah. Yeah, we're just doing all this stuff, you know.
When I was a kid,
will not work.
When I was a kid, I went to a Lutheran school, parochial, and you know, it's, you know, God and everything like that. But every year we would go to the Los Angeles County Museum of History and Natural Science, things like that. And we would see these. And now we're taught that Adam and Eve were real, you know, the Garden of Eden, the whole bit like that. And then we go into the Natural History Museum, and they're showing the different, you know, man as it evolved through time. And one day I just asked someone who was in the know, right? Okay, where was the Garden of Eden here? And they were like, well, that was in the other part. Kind of like it was like it was a theme park. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that was in the other part. And I'm like, well, okay.
If you're Mormon, the Garden of Eden was in Missouri, if I remember correctly.
Missouri. You pronounced that wrong. It's not Missouri. It's not pronounced Missouri. It's pronounced misery.
I thought it was Missouri.
What was that episode of The Simpsons where, like...
Oops, sorry.
Yeah. What was that episode of The Simpsons where his...
It was Arkansas.
One at a time.
Yeah. What was the episode of The Simpsons where where Homer's like his neighbor or something like that? He's a what is it? A creationist, yeah, and he goes to a fucking natural history museum and he sees all this stuff about evolution. Then he says, "Where is creation? Where is this?" And they point over to the side and they say, "Oh, it's over here." And then you have like, you know, the thing going down, like God going down and pointing his finger, right, and then everything just popping up. And he's like, "Oh my childish things."
Well, I go to the Science Museum here in Denver. I go to the Science Museum in Denver, and they have a lot of volunteers showing, you know, stuff, you know, and sometimes it's oceans, you know, bones and stuff, and trilobites and all that kind of crap. And I go to them, I said, how often do you get creationists in here? And how do you deal with it? Because I don't think I could. You know, I can understand a kid, but an adult, I lose it.
Well, what about that one lady?
See how I lost it with Bonehead G-Man?
Oh, yeah. God, I still love that part.
Yeah,
man. That
you know how I lost it with him? Well, I kind of would lose it with them. I wouldn't have the job for long because I can't tolerate an adult being so fucking ignorant.
Hey, guys.
If you're retarded, no problem.
Guys, just real quick, once again, Wildheart66 said the lesson we should all the lesson we should all take from Mormons is never trust a convicted con man with a magic hat.
Oh, hell yeah. Who claims knowledge of a flaming sword.
Exactly.
Too late for that. That's out.
I know.
That ship is sailed.
Well, yada 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 had something really nice to put in there. Ma-so-o-ri.
Don't know what that
isn't that like Tibetan chanting?
I have no fucking idea. I'm not into that shit. Yeah.
I'd guess, yes.
I'm pretty sure it is. I have friends who are ex-Tibetan Buddhists. My husband's a Zen Buddhist, which is Japanese, so he doesn't chant shit like that.
Is your husband Japanese?
No.
Yeah, we're all turning.
He's he's of German Polish extraction.
Okay.
Lithuanian, you know.
There's a Buddhist temple I went to not too long ago. They had an open house for just one block, and it was Asians, you know, get together on one block, and it was there's a Buddhist temple there that I've been meaning to go to visit, and at least this one, they're not, you know, they don't have their heads so far up their ass, you know.
Yeah. Well, and he's kind of atheistic, right?
Yeah,
so he's what I call an apatheist. He doesn't care if there's God or not. He says it doesn't matter to his life, so it's not something he spends time worrying about.
There's no real stress on that, you know.
Yep. Which works fine. There we go.
Well, we had the Dalai Lama going, well, if science says it, then that's what it is.
Well, I think we can all agree that there's somebody out there praying for each and every one of us.
Yeah.
Really?
True.
Oh, I get told that a lot.
I think
I'm going to pray for you. I pray every day that you find peace with Jesus. I'm like
I got way more peace without that fucker.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if as I've said many times in my during my live stream since I moved up to Vermont, Vermont is actually the most, I don't want to say atheistic, but the most non-religious state in the Union. To all the Americans in here.
Mm-hmm.
Americans.
Yeah, and Louisiana's
we
pretty
do
much
love
one
our
of the most
God.
religious.
So you guys know I was just down there for, well, it was supposed to be 3 weeks, but I was down there for 2 weeks.
Wait. Let's get one thing straight, Heretic. Did you have your green card with you?
Green card?
She snuck over the... Oh, shit. Are you telling us that you snuck over the border illegally?
I did. Well, no.
Oh, my God.
Those damn falsebacks.
Is that a dead cat?
Nope, that's an annoyed cat.
Oh, aren't they all?
You know what? I think it's pretty bad that they blew out their engine block on the bike so they couldn't. I couldn't visit with you.
I know. He just got the part to start fixing it yesterday.
Okay.
Where did you
what
go?
part of the trip did this happen at?
It started to run rough just around Springfield, Missouri. We got to Joplin. We got to Joplin where he realized that there was definitely a problem. Thing is, it's a BMW.
Yeah, you're in Joplin.
I know. It's a BMW, so we couldn't just go to any bike shop. So we had a choice. There was one about an hour south of us in Arkansas or one in Tulsa, which we were going through Tulsa anyway. So we drove about an hour and 40 some minutes the next day to Tulsa, which we probably shouldn't, but we didn't feel like we had much choice. And by the time, so everything closes on Monday in that area. So we had to sit on our asses for an entire day before we could even go to the shop.
That's some sort of blue law type thing?
I don't know. I guess
I've heard of things being closed on Monday or Sunday.
Yeah, no, we could have, because it started to break down Sunday night, but we didn't get into Joplin until about 10 p.m. So there was no way we could go anywhere then. So apparently in that area, all sort of vehicle related industry stuff is closed on Sunday, Monday. So we couldn't do anything on Monday. So Tuesday morning, bright and early, we go to the bike shop that's licensed in BMW, and they were pretty sure, oh no, well, it hurt. We spent 48 hours in Tulsa because they thought it was a fuel injector valve, but they didn't have one in stock. So we had to wait till Wednesday morning for them to get the fuel injector in stock. So we spent another night in Tulsa. And so then the Wednesday morning, they put in the fuel injector valve and immediately realized that that was only part of the problem. Because like the fuel injector valve definitely needed to be replaced, but that's when they realized that the cylinder was not working. And so they said, well, we could fix that, but it could take days, months, weeks to get your...
How much money you got?
Well, no, they were really, really good that way. They were really good that they could have tried to soak us and they didn't. They were really good that way. But they just said, we don't know how long it's going to take to get the parts because you have to get it through BMW and it's an older bike. It's a 2003. So it's not standard and yada, yada. So we had to be in Vegas by that Friday. This is Wednesday. We had to check into our hotel that we already paid for in Vegas by Friday. So we kind of said, okay, well, I guess we're going to have to rent a car. And we did. So we rented a car to go to Vegas because, like I said, we already prepaid for that. We were supposed to go from Vegas up through Wyoming and spend a couple days in Colorado Springs. And then we were going to go up to Sturgis and meet some people in Minneapolis and go all up through, I know somebody in Green Bay. With all of that, half of the trip we had to cancel.
You did all that without a green card?
Yeah.
Wow.
But we couldn't go up that way because I just drove through and smiled. But we had to go back through Tulsa because we left the bike in Tulsa and rented a car. So we had to go back to Tulsa to pick up the bike, which they were really, really good. They stored the bike for a whole week for us for nothing. Oh. So we were, they treated us really, really well in Tulsa. Just we weren't wanting to spend that much time in Tulsa. We weren't even going to stop in Tulsa. We were going to drive on through, but so yeah, that sucked because we got to visit with 4 friends on that leg, but the vast majority of people that we were going to see were on the other leg of the trip that we had to cancel.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
October 18th, Lobster Ministries is going back on tour. I'll be flying out of Providence, Rhode Island, stopping in Newark, New Jersey for a fucking hour, flying to San Francisco, and then off to Medford and off to Grants Pass, Oregon, where Lobster Ministries will be taking up for about 12 days, house sitting and dog sitting.
There you go. Well, see, now
legal weed.
Well, see, now October 17th, weed becomes legal in all of Canada. So you can come on up here and smoke too.
It's legal in Massachusetts as well, but they're fucking around. It was legalized by the voters in Massachusetts 2-3 years ago, but they still don't have a fucking pot dispensary for recreational weed because they're still fucking around with zoning laws and shit like that. They had a chance. They had a chance in Seekonk, Massachusetts, to have for this big pot farm that would have been fucking amazing for the state, right? Because fuck what Colorado and Oregon and other states have done with it, but they're so worried that the kids will get a hold of it, and it's like,
yep.
I keep telling people, kids aren't smoking pot anymore. They're going back into your mom's fucking medicine cabinet, finding these opiates and shit.
Yeah.
They like that synthetic crap that'll fucking what was it, New Jersey not too long ago, that park full of people smoking that stuff that was supposed to be synthetic pot, right? How many fucking, they had, over 100 ODs or some shit? It's like,
oh, damn.
Just smoke some fucking weed, man.
We see, now our premiers, who are like governors, a bunch of them were bitching and moaning that Trudeau didn't give them enough time to make all these laws like you're talking about. And Trudeau basically said, I don't give a fuck. It's legal by October 17th. Deal with it. You know,
Yeah.
That's how long you got to get your shit together.
I mean, yeah, and like in Rhode Island, right? Jesus Christ, you'd swear it was the fucking 60s. You could pull off any fucking PSA or anti-drug fucking film you can find on YouTube and give it to half the legislators in Rhode Island, and they'll think it's a real documentary. You know, about marijuana leads to heroin, you know, marijuana leads to, you know, this and that. And it's like, no, I know very few people that smoke weed that are really interested in fucking
marijuana will lead you to probably order a pizza, but that's about it.
Pizza Queen right down the street, man.
Well,
they love us here.
That's kind of how they are in Louisiana too, you know. Louisiana, Texas.
Louisiana is one state that I will never fucking show up again. That has got to be the scummiest fucking. Oh God, I spent 2 years in the Army in Louisiana, and I was so fucking happy to leave there. I'm like, I don't give a shit if I have to go around the entire fucking state sometime. I will not go to Louisiana. That is a shithole. Sorry.
No. I'm never going to the South, period. And I have relatives in the South.
Yeah.
I don't mind visiting the South, and I'll tell you why. Because they do. They very, very much do. But also because I'm a Canadian, I can get away with fucking with them. Like, I can walk around in an Atheist shirt, and people are all like, oh, but they aren't ever going to say or do anything because I'm Canadian.
Yeah.
And it's, well, you know, like we'll have Canadian license plate, or I often will have like a little Canadian flag on my tote bag or whatnot. And I'm very open about it, especially if I'm down somewhere for a convention. And I can totally mess with them, and I love it. So I don't mind. Now, you couldn't fucking pay me to live down there. No way in hell. But I love visiting down there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something there with your Canadian accent and be like, oh, what are you talking about there?
There's something else
I think the shittiest Canadian accent I've ever fucking heard. Yeah, you sound
like with accents. I'm sorry.
Sorry, what was that? Pikachu's trying to tell me something.
Yeah, there was something else I wanted to say. Like, you don't have the experience of having a family that live down here that have that issue, that are in this whatever, and are willing to disown you because you're an atheist. And that is the most serious thing with living down
for sure,
being an atheist, you know.
And I, like, personally, because of a lot of issues in my family, I actually have disowned my own family in many ways, and have no qualms about doing so if they fuck with me ever again. So that, to me, I'm the one doing the disowning usually.
Don't worry, they'll disown you, but they love you.
Oh yeah, they're just doing it out of love. No, I became an atheist at 17 years old. My family is well and truly trained on how not to piss off the heretic. They know very much. No one talks about it around me for the most part, and like, for instance, a couple of years ago, my mother's side of the family is so big that they rent the Legion Hall for Easter dinner. Like, there's that many fucking people. So we go there, and my aunt, my mother's younger sister, she comes up and she's like, "Oh, happy Easter." And I just kind of make a like, yeah, whatever face. And she goes, "Now, don't you start." And I said, "What? I didn't say anything." She goes, "I know what you're thinking."
The Easter lizard has arisen.
Well, I know, she knew what you were thinking. Why did she say anything? Yeah.
I know, but she was doing it more in jest. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, see something. There's two things you can do if you're an atheist in Louisiana and you have the ability to get out. I don't. But if you do, there's two things you could do: move west of the Colorado River or move north of the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah. No, I believe it.
Yeah, that whole Mason-Dixon line, I've been on the Mason-Dixon line, and that, you know, there is something about that Mason-Dixon line. Everything to the north of it is one way, and everything to the south of it is totally fucking different. You know?
Yeah. Midwestern Pennsylvania, you watched Consumia, I guess, maybe, and he unfortunately was in mid-Pennsylvania for a while. But I know the first time I drove down south to Texas, and I'd take the Pennsylvania Turnpike past, the Capitol. And then then I go south across the Mason-Dixon line, and it would surprise me how fast the Southern accent.
And the attitudes.
Well, I didn't have any problem with that because I was just stopping at a hamburger place, you know?
Yeah.
When it comes to weather, too, when it comes to weather, right, if there's shitty weather, you know, usually like in the wintertime, if you're north of the Mason-Dixon line, it rains. If you're south of the Mason-Dixon line, it snows. You know, I'm serious because I used to drive right over the Mason-Dixon line all the time when I used to work for, you know.
But I guess I was so surprised. And I stopped at McDonald's or Burger King, whatever, and I ordered a hamburger, and oh my God, what a thick accent from the South.
Oh yeah.
Well, there's something else too. There's something else too that you should know that you would know when you're in the South. This is that you know when you're in the South when people around you are talking about, oh, it's states' rights, when they're trying to remove a statue of Lee or change you know, the name of a street because it's the name of a Confederate general or something like that. You know you're in the South when they're saying, oh, it's states' rights, that they shouldn't be able to do that, even though it's kind of unconstitutional for them to have it already. And
not so much that, you know, it's state right, and so it's something you want.
Yeah, good point.
Then all of a sudden they go, oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, they don't realize. Yeah, they don't realize that they don't have. I mean, say for instance they take down, like here in New Orleans, we have a street called Jefferson Davis Highway, and say for instance, you know, they appealed to the Federal Department of Transportation that they wanted to change the name, and the people around here were saying, oh no, you can't do it, it's states' rights. Well, once they take that to the Supreme Court would look and say, wait a second, no, we don't have a case on the 10th Amendment because this is the state trying to supersede Article 2, Section 2 of the Bill of Rights, and this is also the state trying to supersede, you know, the 14th Amendment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and they don't have a right to appeal to that. And if the state is saying if the city is saying, I meant to say, we want to change the name, and they're having that appeal to the Federal Department of Transportation, and they're saying you can do it, and the state is saying no, the court's going to side with the city more than they're going to side with the state.
Well, out here they have a lot of, in Boston, I know they have it in Providence. A lot of towns have it. They'll have roads that actually have 2 or 3 different names. They'll have a name, and then they'll have like a historical name, and some places will actually have 3 street signs, you know, showing you that you better hope your GPS has one of those names on your fucking, you know, or you're screwed. Driving through Boston a while back, it's like that. I'm trying to use my GPS. It's telling me to turn left on this one street. Well, that street has 3 different names on it. First of all, none of the names that my GPS was telling me were the right names.
Oh, jeez.
Second of all, I would have been turning the wrong way on a one-way street, you know. So yeah, I mean, see, and that's why I don't understand, you know. Like in Virginia, they have Robert E. Lee Highway. They've got a lot of Confederate highways in Virginia. And I don't see why they can't. Huh?
They have it all across the South.
I don't see why they can't, like, okay, you want to keep that name, fine. But that's the historic name, you want to call it, whatever. But this is the actual name of the highway, right? We should just call it Route 40.
But the reason why it was given that name was because, they wanted to promote this lost cause myth, which is full of shit because it's not true history. And, it's all about, the lost cause is all about, showing that the white people are always superior to the black people and are meant to say always superior to other minority groups. And that's not fucking true. And it never was fucking true. And, the deal is that, the Civil War, it was all about that. It was all about them wanting to be superior to other people.
There's a meme going around I just love, and it's got a picture of Steve Bannon, who's all like nasty, pasty looking with like herpes scabs on his lips and shit. And then there's a picture of Idris Elba, who's like all ripped and shirtless and everything. It's like, this guy thinks that he's genetically superior to this guy.
Oh yeah, there's memes of fucking fat goddamn belly hanging over the fucking belt, Ku Klux Klan wearing robe motherfuckers. I was watching a documentary last night about meeting some Ku Klux Klan Grand Wizard. And 90% of the people in that fucking movie look like they fucked their cousins.
Well, they did.
Yeah.
We know they did.
But I lived in North Carolina in 1985 for about 10 months, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful people down there, beautiful country. I
like
knew
North
a
Carolina.
lot of Southern motherfuckers, right? Everything was cool until you'd sit around and start drinking.
Yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden the South will rise shit starts. Right? And
I was married.
Uncomfortable as fuck on so many occasions.
I was married to a Virginian from Richmond who loved to tell me how Richmond was the seat of the Confederate government in the War of Northern Aggression. I was like, yeah, okay, that's...
Ask him if he's been to Richmond lately. It's a shithole.
He hasn't. He buggered off with some chick off the internet, and he's in Santa Fe for the last, 10 years. But I still have relatives in that area. But
I love it when I was in the service. I was up there in South Dakota where we had the B-52s with nukes and all the missiles. And I would get that shit. The South shall rise again. I said, did you ever notice how the missiles and the B-52s are all north? And you think they're pointed at Russia? They're not pointed at Russia.
Well, something else?
I was involved too much. But
it's like them fucking militia bastards, they go around, we gotta arm ourselves in case the government, we need to overthrow the government. I'm like, you do know they have nukes and drones and
heat-seeking missiles.
Yeah, they can shoot a fucking missile like hundreds of miles away right through your living room window.
They don't even have to come anywhere near you to fucking blow you to pieces.
No.
We're gonna go play army in the fucking woods.
They built rockets that were 3-stage rockets that sent somebody to the moon. They can build a rocket with a nuclear warhead that can strike your house from.
Like I said, I was around. I was around that shit, And like I said, you think they're pointed towards Russia?
Yep.
Hell,
like I said, they didn't like me.
Yeah.
I worked in.
When you see the fact.
I worked in Raleigh, North Carolina. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Now, when you see the fact that in 1970 they had a rocket that was like 30 stories tall, and you say, this and this and this, blah 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 blah. Oh, the South rise again, and you think, well, oh, wait a second, the United States military can build that again. They can build it with much better GPS systems than we have on our phones. They can build it with a nuclear warhead.
You don't
they can have all the storage stuff where it can hit you from wherever.
You don't need a big rocket to shoot it from South Dakota to South. You don't need a big.
No, well, the thing is that if they have a rocket that is designed it, can go around the moon, and then they'll never know where it came from.
Well, who cares? They know or not, they're dead.
Yeah, they didn't know. Other people wouldn't know that.
I worked at a grocery.
There was something I wanted to say. I'm about to go. I wanted to plug this. See if I could plug this. I'm doing 2 videos a week now. This past week, I just did the video on, or today I did a video on that EWTN sort of stuff, you know, where of course that cardinal was blaming homosexuals for the child molestation or whatever. And I did a couple other videos on some Catholic groups or whatever, and I am planning on doing a video this week about doing I'm thinking about doing one responding to the responses to contemporary Christian music and why Christian music as a whole is full of shit. Anyways, and just making a video talking about, you know, okay, the people who are basically saying about how they don't like contemporary Christian music are just completely not in the place to say that, because they're Christians themselves, and they're the way that you see these things talking about, you know, responding to it, it's like, oh, they're not sermony enough. And the problem is they're not addressing the fact that if they're sermony, period, people are not going to watch or listen to it at all. Just because of the sermon part.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to get into. But yeah, I have to go because I got some stuff to do. So I will see you guys later. You can catch me at Pikachu the Atheist on YouTube. So I want to thank Atheist Ranger for letting me come on here. So
no problem, man.
All right, I'll see you guys. Yeah, I'll see.
I can't. Can I do that? I can do this, but I can't do.
Do this.
Do that. Yeah, there we go.
I'm not sure.
You need a few more rings.
Hey, either one of Christians means the same shit. All right, but I'll see you guys later.
Take it easy.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.
Well, he was talking about the South. I lived in North Carolina in 1985, and I worked at a furniture store. I delivered furniture. I repossessed furniture. It was one of those places where, you know, $100 down, you can get $5,000 worth of furniture, right? And it's the first time you miss a payment, you know, we come and get it, right? But this one hot August day, I think it had to be the hottest, muggiest day of the year. Right down the street at the state capitol, they always have these Confederate ceremonies and stuff, and they like to shoot off these cannons, right? Well, I was hot, fucking tired, hungover most likely, and they kept shooting these cannons off, right? And all of a sudden I look at this guy and said, "What are they trying to do? Start another fucking war and get their ass kicked again?" And I said this to a bunch of fucking Southerners, right?
Yeah.
And my boss, who was a nice guy and everything, right? He grabbed me by the back of my shirt, took me inside, and he goes, "You know, Patrick," he goes, "I like you. You're a good old boy and everything, but if you ever say something like that again, we're going to whoop your ass." Because I used to get called a Yankee, and I said, "Look, I'm from the South. I'm from Southern California."
Yeah.
You know, I said, you know, so what's the fucking deal?
Speaking of Yankee, I said my ex was from Virginia. Well, where I grew up, like we're near Niagara Falls, Buffalo, and so we always talked about Yanks. Like all Americans to us were Yanks, right? And so I get with my husband. I think it was not long after he moved up here, and I was like blah 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 Yanks, and he's like, don't ever call me a goddamn fucking Yankee. I'm like, whoa, okay.
Hey, look how many. This is a sports thing, but look how many fucking Southerners are New York Yankee fans.
Yeah, I learned that in a hurry.
They don't know what they know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I grew up in California where the Civil War, like in history class, was like 2 chapters, and chapters were like 5 pages, So I never really got into the Civil War type stuff until I moved to the East Coast and lived in Maryland. And then I kind of became like a Civil War buff, because we had Gettysburg and, Virginia's got all those, Northern Virginia's got all those battlefields. And, but I could never understand how a war that was ended in 1865, right? And nobody alive today was there, right? Had anything to do with it. Well, my great-great-great-grandpappy did and everything, right? Well, your great-great-grandpappy fought on the losing side, right?
Yep.
Get the fuck over it, right? Every country has had to, or every battle, there's a winner and there is a loser, right? You lost, right? Holy shit, don't ever say that to them, man, because then they start bringing out their South will rise again. These are a bunch of hillbilly inbred motherfuckers who have stills in their fucking house,
Hey, now, we have a still in the house. I'm just saying.
Well, you live in Canada, too, so.
Yeah.
That's what I said. At first, I ran into a lot of that stuff, and like I say, I usually had something good to come back with, But that nuke thing, I said, yeah, this will really get them pissed off. Yeah, they're all pointing.
Well, then they'll talk about how a lot of the aerospace, was done in Alabama, so they. Yeah,
but I'm talking about nukes. They were there.
Well, yeah, but
talking about real shit. Now she rise again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blech.
Yeah, I always thought that was,
the
it's
worst
like
losers in the face of the earth. Talk about snowflakes.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys, I'm going to end the broadcast. Obviously, before I do, if I'm going to have y'all, plug your channels, if you have anything to plug, just going to go from my left since I'm left-handed. Heretic Woman, go ahead.
Well, Beyond the Trailer Park, Monday nights at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You can find it on YouTube, beyondthetrailerpark.com. You can hear me read the Quran, so you don't have to, at fullquranic.com. And Sunday mornings, 12:05 a.m. Eastern, you can find me on Holy Crap, the Vlogcast, which is also on YouTube, or holycrapthevlogcast.com.
Patrick, go ahead.
Lobster Ministries. I like to have fun with Von Helton, make fun of religion. And in another timeline, I did pass away. But those people who know me on Facebook knew that wasn't real. But so a lot of people hate me right now.
Uh-oh.
But yeah. I was like, all you have to do is look at my Facebook page the whole time I was supposed to be dead. Because there were people that wanted me dead. So I figured, okay, fuck it. I'll give them what they want, right? Oh, shit. All hell broke loose. But anyway, different timeline, Mandela effect. I am still alive. And that's about it, No substance.
Just lots of lobster.
Yeah, that's it.
Paul, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting. Do you have a YouTube channel? Or you just
I haven't started up yet. I don't know what I would talk about anyway.
Talk about how retarded G-Man is, because that is still that's like almost top 10. That's almost broke the top 10 of my all-time favorite things to watch on fucking YouTube.
I did say don't bring him on.
Oh shit! Yeah, I know, but it was just you just kept going on about you retarded. Get the fuck out of here.
Like I said, I have a hard time with ignorance from a grown person. I really do. Especially when they don't see how hypocritical they are.
Yeah.
About their faith and all.
Yeah.
God loves you to burn.
Well, ladies and gentlemen.
Like a fire.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am the Atheist Ranger. This has been my August sub hangout where we just talk some bullshit. We talk about stuff that matters, stuff that doesn't matter, like Canada. Who cares about Canada? Anyway, yeah, just playing heretic.
Oh,
anyway,
I think he's ragging on Canada.